Every day, I walk the halls of this beautiful building at the Kroc School and ask myself, am I really working here? I can't believe I had the chance to do something I love and care about so deeply. I teach in the Masters in Social Innovation as Professor of Practice, teaching social innovation and social entrepreneurship. This is a career, role, and discipline that didn't exist when I started working. Today, I have the chance to combine my passion for social change with my lifelong work across the globe in tech startups to Fortune 100s to social enterprises. I'm deeply honored to have the opportunity to teach the next generation of change makers. So how did I get here? The route that brought me here was circuitous, to say the least. I focused on opportunity, intention, and perseverance. Much of it started with inspiration from my childhood heroes. Those heroes taught me to focus on the power of intention. What does that mean? It is a relentless pursuit of your dreams, goals, and aspirations. There will always be roadblocks or obstacles. It's a matter of how you choose to handle them. Do you go over them, under them, around them, or simply make them disappear? The other thing my childhood heroes told me is about paying it forward. If you pay it forward, it will always come back 1,000-fold. Two of the greatest heroes in my life are my aunt and uncle, Lil and Len Press. Moving from Boston to Lexington, Kentucky in the 1950s, my uncle Len ran University of Kentucky's radio station and taught communications. As he traveled around the state, he saw the terrible quality of education in rural Kentucky or Appalachia. Students had little access to quality education and a total lack of teachers. He believed that quality of education should be available to everybody, irrespective of socioeconomic status or where you lived. So he nurtured a dream to create a public television station that would change that. For over 10 years, Len Press relentlessly pursued an opportunity to create Kentucky educational television, seeking funding and approval from the state and the federal government. When he finally established that, he created the first satellite-based education program in the world, and it linked rural Appalachian schools to quality education resources elsewhere in the state. I had the opportunity to be an intern at KET during my junior year of college, and I saw the power of transformation of his work. My Aunt Lil was and is a civic leader in Kentucky. She always taught me that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. Today, at 95 and 93 years of age, my aunt and uncle Lil and Len Press remain change makers and visionaries, and they are my greatest heroes. I talk to them weekly, and they're also my greatest cheerleaders. I believe deeply in the power of serendipity. During my sophomore year at Bowdoin College in Maine, I was walking around campus trying to fill a hole in my schedule. I happened to walk into a class called Modern Japanese Economic History. The pasty-faced professor with a polka dot bow tie let out a samurai war yelp as I entered the class. I was instantly hooked. Professor John Langlois changed the trajectory of my life and career that day. When you have opportunity land in your lap, are you able to recognize it? I took several more classes with Professor Langlois during my college years. And in my senior year, he suggested, as I had fallen in love with Japan and Asia, that I apply to 2 programs in Japan. They were the Rotary Graduate Fellowship and a Fulbright Teaching Fellowship. You need to know that I was totally unqualified for the position with the Fulbright Commission. They required Japanese fluency and teaching experience. I had neither. I applied, but I didn't even make the cut. I was put on a wait list. But the universe had other plans for me. When somebody else didn't accept the position, I took the job and headed off to Japan, having no idea what I was heading out to do. I observed that many people pass up on opportunities because they don't feel they have the experience or qualifications to pursue them. That happens to many people early in their careers, but also to many people as they go through their careers. My philosophy is just push the envelope and go for it. In the wonderful words of Richard Branson, if somebody offers you an amazing opportunity, but you're not sure you can do it, say yes, and then learn how to do it later. I arrived in Japan and was assigned to work for the Japanese Ministry of Education in northern Japan, in an area of Japan called Nagaoka, otherwise known as Snow Country. Snow Country was an understatement. It started snowing and continued snowing for 6 months straight. In addition, I was sent to teach to English teachers and to also work with secondary school students. I wasn't prepared for the fact that nobody, including the English teachers, spoke English. And remember, I didn't speak a word of Japanese. So I realized that my first job was to figure out how to put everybody at ease and to teach myself Japanese. So I began the sink or swim process of teaching myself this very complex language. I never left my apartment without a Japanese-English dictionary in hand. Cultural differences were part of my everyday life. Many of them were heartwarming, inspiring, and very often humorous. And others were true tests of survival. But what I did learn that year was it was a totally transformative experience for me, and I came to love a country that was noble and ultimately welcoming. As year 2 approached, I headed to Tokyo, and with a wonderfully generous Rotary Graduate Fellowship, I began to study at International Christian University. I immersed myself in Japanese language training, and at the end of that year, I was completely fluent in spoken and written Japanese. After 2 years in Japan, I headed back home to Boston. By coincidence, I ran into somebody who suggested that I consider looking at Silicon Valley and considering a job in business working in the Asia-Pacific market. You need to know that I had no interest or experience in California and absolutely no idea what a business career was about. But somehow intuitively, this felt like something I should explore. So within days, I bought a ticket to San Francisco and headed to Palo Alto. You need to know I had no money, no contacts, no car, and nowhere to live. I did have a third cousin I'd never met before. I showed up at her doorstep in Los Altos and pretty much didn't move out. I began to look for jobs in sales or marketing, not knowing what the difference was between the two of them. Future employers or prospective employers would say to me, "So what are your skills?" And I'd say, "Well, I speak fluent Japanese." And they said, "Well, what else can you do?" After a few grueling months of looking for a job, I finally ended up at the crazy rock and roll world of Atari in their new computer division. My first job was straight out of the movie Bad Bosses. After one really miserable first year, however, I ended up in the international division at Atari, helping to set up and run their new Asia-Pacific businesses. Once again, I had no experience in sales or marketing. I began to commute to Japan, Hong Kong, and Australia. We were the fastest growing brand in the world. So I encourage you all who think that Plan A isn't working out, always think about Plan B. Silicon Valley was a great place for me, but I did realize pretty quickly that I had no skills or training in financial analysis at all. And if I was going to succeed in global business, I had to learn more about that. So I applied for and was accepted to the Stanford MBA program, which was an incredible experience. After Stanford, I had many opportunities to set up and run international businesses all over the world. Incredible opportunities. But something was always missing. I had always felt deep inside that I really wanted to work in social good, and I somehow needed to make that happen. Meanwhile, after 20 years of living in Silicon Valley and working there, we headed to Southern California, to San Diego, to find a kinder, gentler lifestyle. In September of 2011, a light bulb went off. I realized it was time to finally create the career that I had always wanted. The world was changing, and I saw a new paradigm created. It was about the intersection of social good and business models. Organizations such as Kiva, Ashoka, and Tom's Shoes were demonstrating that that was a new trend, and I really wanted to figure out how to be part of that. I also knew that I wanted to teach. So I put my word out to my network, and within days, I had people making introductions on my behalf to help me figure out how to pursue this new career path I had in mind. As part of my networking, I was asked to put together a luncheon with several San Diego women leaders. I happened to invite Patricia Marquez to that luncheon. I sat down next to her, and as I call it, I politely ambushed her. Or rather, I call this being pleasantly tenacious. I told Patricia I had two dreams. They were to teach in a university and to re-engage in international work. By the end of that lunch, Patricia had offered me an opportunity to co-teach a new course with her at University of San Diego. So I co-taught and co-designed a new course called Business and Social Innovation in the MBA program here at USD. It was a great success and on a topic I felt so passionate about, the intersection of business and social good. More importantly, I fell in love with teaching. I saw the opportunities to help students create a new way of thinking, to look at the possibilities of having social good combined with their working careers. That it didn't have to be either or in choosing to create a career path that also made the world a better place. It was about helping to inspire students in new ways of thinking. As I worked more with USD, I became involved with the Kroc School as we were designing a new master's here in social innovation. In addition, because I became a professor, I was able to start doing work around the world to teach on topics I was really passionate about, social innovation and entrepreneurship. I had the chance to go to Colombia, Vietnam, and Brazil many times, and also to go to East Africa to work with entrepreneurs in Uganda, Rwanda, and Kenya, people who are changing their world and visionary, brave change makers in so many ways. Meanwhile, at USD, we had begun to think about launching the Massey Program. Patricia Marquez reached out to me and offered me a position that I couldn't even dream was possible. It was to become professor of practice here, to teach and to work with the Kroc School team to develop the new master's program. It was truly a dream come true. So as I always say, how could I say no? So I began teaching here and saw the power of working with the Kroc School students. In all cases, we see our students embracing change. We help them to see their role in the world differently, that social change does not need to become an afterthought, but is part of their everyday work and the way they can go out and change the world. We encourage them to embrace change as part of their work. For example, we have alumni changing the legal system in Liberia and others working here in San Diego to prevent gang violence. Our Massey students recently completed a consulting project at Qualcomm focusing on diversity and inclusion, while other students pursue their passions for change in homelessness, human trafficking, and cross-border relations. In all cases, we teach our students that there can be a ripple effect. In the wise words of Mother Teresa, I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the water and create many ripples. We teach our students that they should embrace their passion and pursue their vision to create the world and the careers that they want. We know that there will be many opportunities, often challenging, with twists and turns. But we know that they are brave enough or foolish enough to pursue those opportunities. As I have always said, I always said yes. So should you.